Okay, so we're going to unpack some pretty extraordinary stuff today because literally just this week, some brand new radar tech, deployed from space has maybe revealed some like massive hidden structures under the pyramids at Giza.
Wow.
And we're not kidding when we say massive. Okay, so picture formations that go an incredible 600 meters straight down into the bedrock.
600 meters.
Yeah, that's almost 2,000 feet.
It's hard to even fathom that kind of depth. I mean, to put it into perspective, that's like 2 Empire State Buildings stacked on top of each other and then buried deep beneath the sands.
Right, and get this, it gets even more mind-blowing. The initial readings suggest these structures might connect to even deeper formations, possibly going as far as 2 kilometers underground.
2 kilometers.
Yeah, so I'm sure your first thought is probably the same as mine. Are we just talking about some natural, geological formations here, right? Maybe some unusual cave systems or something?
Well, that's certainly the first question that comes to mind, but the initial analysis,
Yeah.
It seems to point in a totally different direction. Underneath the Pyramid of Khafre, researchers have identified 8 massive pillars. 8 massive pillars. And crucially, these aren't just random rock formations. They exhibit characteristics that strongly suggest deliberate human construction.
So we're talking human construction at that kind of depth.
It's pretty astounding, isn't it?
It really makes you reconsider everything we thought we knew about what they were capable of back then. I mean, what purpose could such deep structures serve?
Exactly.
And hold on, it gets even crazier because the latest data hints at something even more spectacular.
Okay.
The possibility of a whole underground city underneath one of the pyramids.
Whole city.
It's still speculative, I
Yeah.
know, but the implications are just huge.
It's almost too much to process.
I know.
So we've got these individual discoveries, but then when you start thinking about how they might all be interconnected,
Right?
it starts to paint a picture of a subterranean network that's far more intricate and sophisticated than anything we've ever imagined.
Absolutely. And there's this discovery of 5 interconnected structures near the base of the pyramids that's particularly interesting.
Yes.
These structures extending down 648 meters,
Deeper than the others.
deeper than the others. And what's fascinating is what they seem to be vertical shafts and even what looks like a spiral staircase leading down to 2 large chambers.
Spiral staircase that far down.
It just boggles the mind. What kind of engineering would that have required?
It certainly indicates a level of architectural skill we wouldn't normally associate with the builders of the pyramids.
Right.
There's also this intriguing suggestion of a link to some kind of ancient water management system.
Like they were somehow using it for the pyramid's construction.
Yeah, could these shafts have been access points or even integral parts of a vast hydraulic network?
So then it makes you wonder, are we just looking at isolated anomalies here? Or are these pieces of a much larger puzzle?
A puzzle that's been buried for thousands of years.
Right. Could these be elements of some kind of global energy distribution system from a forgotten age or remnants of some incredibly advanced tech from a civilization we just don't know about anymore?
The possibilities are truly mind-blowing.
They really are. And it all leads back to the question of just how old are these pyramids and how were they built?
Exactly. We need to remember the immense time scale involved here and the remarkable ingenuity of the people who built these monuments to appreciate what we're looking at.
Right.
So the Great Pyramid, for example, was constructed roughly 4,500 years ago.
Wow, just let that sink in for a minute. 4,500 years.
An almost unimaginable span of time.
And it was originally even taller, estimated to have been 481 feet. Although now it's around 455 feet because of erosion and the loss of its outer casing stones.
Right.
But the sheer volume of construction is what always gets me. We're talking 2.3 million individual stone blocks, each weighing anywhere from 2.5 to 15 tons.
It's an incredible feat of engineering.
And some of the blocks in the King's Chamber weigh up to 50 tons.
Absolutely massive.
And this is where it gets really interesting because how did they do all of this?
It really is the biggest mystery.
Right. We're talking about quarrying, transporting, and placing these massive stones without modern machinery?
How did they achieve such accuracy and on such a monumental scale? It stretches the limits of what we think they were capable of back then.
Totally. And here's another thing that throws a wrench in the works.
Okay.
There's this long-held belief that the pyramids were tombs for the pharaohs.
Right. Everyone knows that.
But get this, no mummies have ever been found inside the Great Pyramid or any of the other major pyramids at Giza.
That doesn't make sense, does it?
It doesn't. If they were meant to be tombs, where are the bodies?
Exactly. The lack of any mummified remains has understandably led researchers to explore other explanations for the pyramids' real purpose.
So if they weren't tombs, what were they?
The theories that they were energy generators or places of spiritual or scientific significance gain a lot of weight when you consider that there are no burial artifacts.
Right, and sometimes you hear this theory that maybe they were used to store grain, maybe even linked to the story of Joseph in Egypt.
Oh, yeah.
But the timeline of the pyramids' construction actually puts them way before the time Joseph would have lived.
Okay, so that doesn't really work then.
So let's explore this idea of the pyramids as energy sources a little more.
That's where this is going.
Nikola Tesla, that visionary inventor, he believed that we could transmit electrical power wirelessly all over the globe.
Wow.
And what's really interesting is the potential connection between Tesla's ideas and these underground structures.
You think they could be related?
What's possible, right? Could these massive pillars and the interconnected structures have been part of some ancient electromagnetic network?
A pretty wild thought.
I know some researchers even suggest that the pyramids themselves were like sophisticated power plants. Yeah, maybe with internal coils or something designed to generate and distribute electricity wirelessly.
So they were like giant batteries.
It's a fascinating theory, and then there are these weird coincidences that make you wonder, the geographic coordinates of the Great Pyramid, when you write them out numerically, they kind of look like the speed of light.
Really?
I know, it's bizarre. Is it just a random thing, or does it suggest that they had a deeper understanding of physics than we give them credit for?
It definitely makes you think.
It really does, and then it gets even weirder.
How much weirder can it get?
Well, there's this theory that the civilization who built these pyramids might not have been the Egyptians as we know them.
Okay.
Some people propose a pre-Egyptian culture, maybe a clan of big guys, as one source put it, or a lost civilization with technology far beyond anything we can imagine for that time period.
So, like, they had help from someone more advanced.
Right. When you consider the scale, the precision, and now these subterranean structures, the idea of a more technologically advanced earlier civilization doesn't seem so crazy.
It really changes your whole perspective on history.
And then we get into even more speculative territory, the idea of extraterrestrial involvement.
Aliens.
The pyramids are aligned with the stars in Orion's belt, and some people say that could be evidence that they were built with knowledge from beings not of this earth.
And how would these new underground structures fit into that?
Well, in this line of thinking, they could be connected to some kind of alien technology. It's a far-out concept for sure, but it definitely captures the imagination.
It's hard not to get caught up in those kinds of theories when you're dealing with something as mysterious as the pyramids.
For sure. Now let's shift gears completely and look at a less conventional source, the Bible.
Okay.
What's interesting is that the Bible actually talks about an inner earth or an underworld.
It's not just the Bible, though. Lots of ancient cultures have stories about hidden realms below the surface.
It's true. And in the Bible, they talk about Sheol, or the abyss.
Right.
And it's this mysterious place that appears in a bunch of different stories.
Like what kind of stories?
Well, there's the one in the book of Numbers chapter 16, where the sons of Korah rebel against Moses and Aaron.
Oh.
And the earth opens up and swallows them whole, sends them down into this abyss.
So it's like a place of punishment.
Right, and there's also this idea in theology of a place reserved for rebellious angels and stuff.
So a place beneath us where bad things happen.
Yeah, and there's another really interesting story in the first book of Samuel, chapter 28, where King Saul tries to get guidance from a medium at Endor.
Okay.
And she summons the spirit of the prophet Samuel from the underworld.
So they believe they could actually communicate with the dead down there.
It's a pretty powerful image, and it really suggests that they saw this world beneath us as a real place.
I see.
And even in the story of Noah's flood, it wasn't just rain from the sky, right? The book of Genesis talks about the fountains of the great deep being broken open, sending water up from below.
So they saw the flood as coming from both above and below.
Exactly. And it shows that this subterranean world was really important in their understanding of creation and destruction.
Fascinating.
But ultimately, the Bible's main message about this is that Jesus Christ has authority over all realms, even the ones beneath the earth.
So even the underworld is subject to his power.
Right. As it says in Philippians chapter 2, verses 10 and 11, at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow of those in heaven and of those on earth and of those under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father.
A very powerful statement.
So we've come to the end of our deep dive today, and we've explored a lot of different perspectives on these incredible discoveries beneath the Giza pyramids. We've looked at the scientific evidence, the theories of advanced civilizations, even the possibility of extraterrestrial influence, and we've even touched on what the Bible has to say about all of this.
It's been quite a journey.
It has, and now it's up to you, our listener, to decide what resonates with you the most. What do you think about all of this?
It's important to consider how these different perspectives, scientific and spiritual, ancient and modern, can all contribute to our understanding of these ancient mysteries.
Right. We've got scientific data that hints at complex underground structures, and we've got ancient stories that talk about hidden realms beneath us. How can these different ways of looking at the world help us to understand the pyramids and what they really meant?
It's a question worth pondering.
It really is. And,
Yeah.
and it leads to one final question. If these massive underground structures have been hidden for so long, what else might be out there waiting to be discovered? What other secrets lie buried beneath our feet?
It's a thought that truly boggles the mind.
It does. It makes you wonder what else is out there just beneath the surface waiting to be uncovered.